Yeah. So how have you been doing?
I'm doing alright. Well, right, I told you about this. I'll go into depth now. We're actually verbally communicating and tell you about nearly losing a bollock and it being fucking horrific. And oh my god, this was a test. This was like the
Everybody's
biggest
going
test
through
I've been
tests.
sent in a while.
Yeah. So talk about it.
Right, well, shit. Basically, beginning of August. So I think it was actually August the first. Yeah, the 1st of August. It was a Tuesday, if I remember correctly. And on that day, I went to bed like I normally would. Fell asleep, all cosy, in that very bed right there. And at 12:30 in the morning, I woke up feeling like I'd been kicked in nuts and Jesus fucking Christ.
Really?
I know you can't kind of like thoroughly imagine the pain, but
Yeah.
I know any guy who hears this will completely get the deal. But so I just like woke up middle at night, fucking oh my god, what's happening? And initially you're like, right, fuck it, I'm gonna go back to sleep. I'm gonna breathe through this, go back to sleep. It's got to be something or nothing. Must have moved funny. So for half an hour, I'm trying to get back to sleep. I'm still just feeling like I've just been kicked in balls. So you get to that point, don't you, where you're like, right, there's something a bit too wrong here, you know what I mean? So anyway, I fucking drove down to the local hospital, like, I get in there, and then they all start fucking freaking out, where they're like, Jesus Christ, this is a medical emergency, bloody hell, whoa, kind of thing. I'm like, fucking hell. So they pump me full of morphine, and oh my God. Right, okay, because this has made me realise I can never risk taking smack, because fuck me, man, morphine is ace. Morphine's so good, you have no idea. Like the only way I can kind of describe it is it's like warm love running through your veins, and it has this weird kind of like dispersal kind of thing where it got, because I had it intravenously, they had me on a drip kind of just pumping me full, and so you actually feel it from the point of the needle slowly flowing around all your veins and slowly taking over your arm and then the rest of your body and everything. It's mad shit. But anyway, yeah, after that, had some surgery and whatnot, woke up the next fucking day, and luckily I've still got both bollocks, but I'll go into a bit of depth. They told me the next day what had fully happened kind of thing. But basically, you know, because like, your balls just float around in your ball sack, don't they? They just float around in your ball sack, right? And I never thought about this. I never knew this could fucking happen. But I must have, like, rolled round in my sleep funny, and apparently, like, my left bollock fucking span round a few times, right? And, like, cut the blood supply off to itself. So that's what had fucking happened, right? So, like, fucking day after, this fucking doctor's telling me this in hospital, and I'm awake in bed. And so now, I've got, like, a fucking 2-inch fucking gash down my balls and, like, 17 stitches. Yeah, so like all of August, man, I were fucked. I couldn't walk for a fortnight afterwards. It were mad as fuck. But like now I'm alright. Yeah. And it's weird, man. It's like I've kind of had like a ball nip and tuck. I feel like I've got the sprightly balls of like an 18-year-old or something now. It's well funny.
Oh man, but, how was that experience for you? Were you scared?
Well, I don't know, it's weird, man, because I was just kind of so totally in agony.
Yeah.
I couldn't even think straight, you know what I mean? And
yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. And then when they put me on the morphine, like, I still felt the pain.
Yeah.
But I just didn't give a fuck. I didn't care anymore. It was weird, and kind of like, I'm looking back on it, there's been bits of annoyances and whatnot, and it was hard work, but now I'm kind of back up to scratch vaguely, you know what I mean? And I got to try morphine, and now I've got a funny story to boot. But yeah, that's what I've been doing for the past kind of month. But other than that, now I'm kind of like desperately trying to finish off my album, which I've been writing for the best part of this year and recording properly for the past kind of couple of months.
That's cool.
Which is why I'm on this shit microphone and not using the other ones, because I can't change settings without losing where I'm up to.
So have you done any psychedelics recently or in the year since we've talked?
Since we talked last, I've not actually. Well,
Huh.
other than just smoking loads of weed every day. But because really, this kind of falls into the album thing. The last time that I did DMT, I think I spoke to you not long after it, actually, when I'd done the ayahuasca thing and been in it for like a good, I think I was in for like 3 hours-ish, maybe a bit longer, something like that.
Wow.
And anyway, that was the trip where I kind of like made an agreement with the DMT entity that I was going to get this fucking album done and get that released before I went back in, because I felt like I initially with psychedelics I was trying to solve and resolve a lot of mental bullshit that I had. I felt I'd asked enough of DMT in terms of that process and felt like I had to give something back.
Yeah.
So it was like, I'm going to spend this time writing this album and this will be my gift to DMT. So the next time I'm going to try, I'm going to have DMT is when I've finished the album, and I'm going to listen to that as I have the experience and kind of be like, here's this music for you, and see what happens then, you know what I mean?
You're going to get an alien download, that's what's going to happen.
Yeah. But this is all kind of coinciding with, because obviously October's when I'm going to try and get it out.
Okay.
And my birthday is in October as well, and as well, it's kind of mushroom season in England in October. So there's all these things where it's like, right, okay, I know shit's going to get a bit fucking trippy come October.
It's so synchronistic.
Oh, yeah, definitely. So looking forward to diving in heavy again, really. But it's been nice, to be honest, to have this time off to proper kind of allow myself to get caught up in the world a bit again.
Yeah, and like giving ourselves like kind of like a break from that for a bit. Yeah, I feel you. When I just get out of psychedelic spaces like that, I can't do anything for a while. Yeah, it gets really heavy and you're just like fixing all this stuff here. But I haven't really felt the urge to DMT again, only because like I'm seeing star tetrahedrons when like I open my eyes. So I'm like, I don't know if I need it. Like, I don't know. I think I blew the gate wide open. Like, I don't know. Mushrooms definitely. Other psychedelics definitely. But DMT not for a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe ayahuasca I would do.
I don't know really.
Because I've never really gone really deep in it. I've done it, but not deep.
I consider them the same kind of thing. I just think like, if with the kind of like ayahuasca approach, it's still the same amount of intensity, but spread across a longer period of time. So you've got more time to react and kind of try and understand what's happening to you.
When you kind of just what did you combine?
With that, it's like any kind of like ayahuasca combination. You just have some DMT containing kind of plant and some MAO inhibiting plant of whatever description, you know what I mean? I use Mimosa hostilis as the DMT, Mimosa hostilis bark for the DMT, and Pergamon harmala for the MAO inhibitor, because you can just buy them online, you know what I mean? It's cheap as fuck.
You're in there for 3 hours. How is it to be in DMT space for 3 hours?
I felt all right with it, but I've been there so many times I'm kind of comfortable with it. It wasn't easy, it was hard work, but it's always kind of, I expect it to be hard work. That's kind of why I'm going there, because I want to be able to work through whatever I can work through. It's kind of like the best way I can explain what I seek to glean from a psychedelic experience is a deeper objective view on myself. It's kind of like some information that I can use to rectify some bit of bullshit I've got that I've not properly noticed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I know that I'm going to get shown something about myself that I probably don't want to face, but that's why I'm taking it in the first place. So I'm prepared to deal with that kind of bullshit.
Yeah. See, I've been dealing with that um, every day. I feel like that's where my channel's gone, is dealing with the psychedelic experience or the mystical experience every day, and like that's what I use my channel now to just like go through my past traumas, go through all the darkness and the shadow work because, that's what we're doing when we're accessing these states in the psychedelic state, I feel. So it's really kind of like carrying that through. And I almost feel like when like when you do have this deeper state, it takes practice, like you said. It does take practice. And when you do have this deeper sense of knowing, it's almost like you're seeing all the bad decisions everywhere. You're like, I got to keep quiet because whatever I say will not change this person's destiny.
I think like using it to find the things to rectify about yourself is so important, because then like it's one thing being given some kind of psychedelic truth from some kind of transcendental experience, and another thing being able to actively implement that in your life as an individual. You know what I mean? So I think that's kind of what I've been doing with this break time.
Yeah.
It's like all these things that I've learned. Now, can I if I truly believe all this shit that I'm fucking into, then I need to actualize that in. Well, I was going to say I need to actualise that in sober life, but I'm always fucking sodom, so I can't really say that, but actualise that in kind of like consensus reality, you know what I mean? And try and kind of like get the level of discipline and reverence that I have when I approach a psychedelic experience in terms of my preparation of setting and my mental state. And apply that to my everyday existence, you know what I mean? Like actually start looking after my physiology, because what I kind of realised is psychedelics will reveal to you a certain pattern of brain chemistry and the experience of that. And that's kind of what we're all chasing. We're all chasing a very specific kind of neurochemical balance, which we consider to be fucking enlightenment, ultimate happiness, whatever the fuck it is. And there's always this kind of like the idea of like separation of body and mind and everything like that, and the kind of idea of the unification of body and mind. And then you just kind of get to, well, I kind of got to this point where I'm like, oh fuck it, my body is my mind, because if my body's not functioning, my head feels shit, I feel psychologically terrible, I'm not getting the fucking chemicals I want to feel like the person I want to feel like. So it's kind of like I've just been bitching myself to get down the level of discipline I need to kind of like eat 3 meals a day and make them fucking healthy, you know, make sure I meditate for half an hour a day, make sure I do my fucking yoga, make sure I fucking properly like do some heavy exercise and shit, and make sure I spend a good like 3 hours being creative and doing the work that I want to do. And because I figured like if I can't make myself do that, then I've not fully taken the lessons that I've been given so far on board. And it's kind of like going back, like going to school the next day when you've not done your homework and you know you're going to get a bollocking from your teacher. You know, it's like I'm not going speaking to my teacher when I know I've not actually done my homework. Right. So it's like, right, fuck it, I'm going to take this time and actually get my shit straight.
That, I totally believe in that. I feel that we do need some breaks just to like get our stuff together. I know for me, it is a practice every single day. I wake up, I spend a few hours studying because there's so much stuff that I have to learn. Reading, listening to lectures. I actually use now some tones while I'm listening to lectures and like going in a meditative state. And I do recommend this because it helps absorb the information at like 100%. Because like when you're in class and like it's really hard for you to focus because you're so stimulated. Yeah, it makes it a lot easier. So that's what I've been doing. And then I have to, like you said, meditate, take care of your body, your mind, your spirit, everything. And it is a practice. You know, you do this every single day, and it does become, I think, a little bit easier. And also, I find doing this work, it also becomes a lot more serious. You know, like my work, I feel now is far more serious than like when I first started, you know, and it was like a completely different person. You know, I feel like I've grown. Like
Well,
I feel like I've finally grown, but I'm still in that rebellious, you know, rebellious teen phase. Like I got so much more to learn.
well, the thing that I'm starting to try and keep in the forefront of my mind now is whenever I think I understand what's going on, I've hit that kind of egoic trap
Hmm.
of believing my own bullshit. It's like, no, you don't get what the fuck is going on. We've not got a clue. Just be humble and
I love
try and
that.
be the best person I can be.
I love that. Yeah, you know, I just said that. I love when like people comment, "Stay humble," because it's just like, you know what? That's the key. That's the key. Like once you think you know it all, and like last year I did kind of think I knew it all, uh, um, and then I just got like hit with so much information, and I'm like, this is gonna take at least 10 years. You know, like you just it becomes more of a serious practice. You know, I find like when people want to you know, when people want to talk about like the fringe side of psychedelics, I no longer take that really seriously, but at the same time I know that that's a learning curve, so I don't really judge them. And that's what I like. I got a question from someone, and they said, when you are awakening, you do feel that sense of I am better than everybody, you know, like, but that's normal. That's I feel an initiation into understanding your creator, your
It's
highest
because
self.
it's new information
Yeah,
to you at
exactly.
that point, and because
Yeah,
no one else has ever gone up to you and gone, "Yo,
you're
have you ever thought
amazing.
about this?" And the first time you found out about these kind of philosophical viewpoints is through these fucking substances, and
Mm.
then you're just like, oh my god, I must be the only person that throughout all of history who's ever thought this way. And then you start being one of them arrogant pricks who's like, follow me, I found the way. Because I did completely the same fucking thing, man. That's all my fucking terrible excuse for a YouTube channel is, you know what I mean? It's me just fucking about and being kind of like completely nuts and off my tits on camera for a few fucking months, but it's like it's shit that you have to do, and that's why I'll always keep that shit there, because it's
Right.
just like I think it's important to, like you say, pay attention to the fact that that's part of the process, and the more aware that people are that it's like, look, you're gonna make a fucking dick of yourself for a bit, and then you, as a result of that, learn not to take yourself seriously
Yeah.
because
Don't take yourself seriously, take your mission seriously. I really feel that because like if you know, you got to have fun, and I've been learning this the hard way because I have entered that like I find reawakened state where you're like, all right, I had another ego death, you know, like I know like I was acting like an asshole. I made that shift in consciousness. And now I'm getting all of this information, and I just want to do now. I've learned, I've really understood that I am creator. You know, like before that was just a concept I didn't even understand. You know, and I do want to talk about like my earlier states more because um, it's just kind of like showing people like this is evolution. And, you know, like this is what happens, and that's why I say don't be ashamed of that, because if you are, you haven't learned from your mistakes. You know, and that's so important to understand. This whole entire process should be shameless. You
yeah,
know?
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
definitely.
yeah.
Because I think it's important as well to kind of like you've kind of got to fall into the trap of the the psychological kind of like intellectual wankery of it all, because that's part of, it's like falling into the rabbit hole, realizing the rabbit hole's infinite, and then what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Because you can always just keep on falling down the fucking thing. You've realised it's infinite now, so are you going to, like, how are you going to incorporate that into this finite bit that you get to experience with everyone else? You know what I mean? Because that's the problem with the infinite and the transcendental. Those things can only be experienced as one thing, as the individual self.
It's exactly.
What are you going to bring to the rest of us from that?
Exactly. I find it's like, number one, when you do get this information, my first thing is like, I want to do everything. And Aaron said something that he just did a video on: be kind to yourself. Be kind to yourself. Be loving to yourself. You can't do it all so quickly because you will burn out. And I was actually reading my tarot and like talking to a friend that was like super intuitive, and she's like, Samina, how long has it been since you haven't slept? And I'm like, 3 days? And she's like, you need to chill. And I'm like, I don't know. And then, this is like following the synchronicity, following the patterns of information that you are presented. And I was like, no big deal. And then I read my tarot just to make sure. First, like, sure enough, it was like the Four of Swords, someone lying down, basically. Like, they said, lie down, go to sleep, rest. And I just said, all right, if I get a third sign, then this means that this is truth. And sure enough, Aaron Gox said, just put on a video. And like, I feel like we're all getting information at the same time. And that's what makes you humble, because you're like, it's not just me. It's not just me. We're all getting the same information at the same time. Holy shit. Holy shit. That's when you see the magnitude of how big this is. This is collective, and we've been stuck in our own experience for so long that we didn't recognize everybody else's truth and gifts, and, that we're all doing this together. Some people are far more into it than others, but again, like, you don't judge those that are just in the beginning process, because it takes so much courage to even go there, and you feel a deep respect and love for all of those people that even choose, no matter how they choose to do so, whether it be in a super public platform where you're acting like an asshole, and like, I put that there for people, even though, I know at one point, like, one of those might go viral. One of them has, and I'm just like, fuck my life. But I get so much love and support. I'm so shocked. Like, I'm really quite shocked and really humble at how well the internet's been taking my crazy shit, because I'm just like, I'm expecting the worst, but I know myself, and I know how I reply to people. I just talk truth. I don't try to offend, to hurt someone. And I feel that's the psychedelic way of being, where you're respectful, that you can feel other people's energy, and you just don't want to hurt them because they're already suffering, and you're just like, it's okay. That's when I step back from the situation and don't hurt someone, because I'm like, oh, I could feel the hurt.
Yeah, but I think you've still kind of got room to try and inject a bit of, I don't know, enthusiasm and well-being into people. You know what I mean?
That's why I do YouTube. But I can't do it in my everyday life. There's a platform and a time and a place, I feel, for sure.
See, right. In my everyday life, I kind of feel like I'm almost getting better at that component than on YouTube or anything.
Yeah. Well, no, in my everyday life, I find that the people that I'm directly in contact with, whether that be my friends or the very few family members, and those people, like, I find are the ones, because I only keep the ones that get it. I kind of drop the others because they involve a sense of unawareness that affects your life.
Well, I think what it is for it, I completely agree with what you're
Yeah.
saying, but I just kind of want to untangle that a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
where it's like, quite simply, I don't have time for people who are going to get in the way of me pursuing what is my kind of dream. If you're going to take time and energy away from me being the best and most optimized individual I can make myself,
Absolutely.
because that's the best impact that I can have on this world,
Absolutely.
then I've got to remove you from my life because you're taking away from the best thing I can be. Not in a hateful kind of way.
Yeah. Never in a hateful. I think you said
But
it
just
way better. Said it
Sorry,
way better than I
yeah.
could. I'm sorry. You did. But yeah, no, it's not in that love. It's not in that hateful way, obviously. And I feel that's what the psychedelic person is. It's a certain sense of sensitivity to energy, you know? Yeah, I've been finding that more and more. It's been crazy. Like the last EMT experience, everybody in my life has completely been swapped. Like it's like a completely different life, and I find all of my friends are so before. Okay, perfect example of my unawareness before versus my awareness now with my friends. Before I had that like deep unprogramming, going into DMT, I would talk shit about my friend, not even think about it, like not even think that's wrong or I love them, because there was no appreciation and no deep connection or love towards someone, and I'm pretty sure the same around. My friend didn't feel that way to me, and probably he or she was doing the exact same thing. It's not one-sided. And now with friends, it's just like I have this deep interest and love, that I'm like, I can't even say anything bad about them. And even if they do something I don't like, I will make fun of them and accept them for what they are.
See, I don't know. Maybe I've got a slightly more of a cutthroat approach because,
Yeah.
by no means do I think that I should be an example of how to live life. I think like what it is, I'm just settled at the moment, knowing that there's a specific way that I feel most happy living, and if I'm enough of a cantankerous arsehole to be like, fuck you, I'm living this way. If you don't like it, just kind of deal with it. But I'd never aggressively put that on someone. I minimise my impact to the exterior.
That's what
world.
I mean. That's the psychedelic person, though. That is the psychedelic person, and like that. The psychedelic person is saying,
like, I don't want to convolute the explanation of that, because what I see it as is I'm trying to be honest to myself and honest to the people around me as much as I can.
Yeah.
And I find that because I'm verbally quite capable, I can tie all my kind of thoughts up in this poetic bullshit that makes people kind of like think I'm saying something more kind of like hyperbolic than I really am. So I don't know. I think I'm on this new hype of trying to be completely honest about my underlying motivations, because I know it's the right thing, but it's weird because the right thing to do in terms of how to act in the world, I'm finding, is to make sure I'm in the most positive headspace, because then I react to every scenario in the most positive way.
Yeah.
But to do that, I kind of have to be the most selfish to be the most caring.
Yes.
Because if I'm not 100% looking after myself in every way, then I don't have the capacity to be the best me in the world. And it seems like the most oxymoronical thing in the world, but it almost makes it effortless to be kind of like loving and kind to everyone in a way, because not only can you just be genuinely loving and kind to everyone, but you can be a dick to some people and have this most beautiful kind of like convoluted way of justifying it to yourself, because really you're helping people So
Yeah.
sometimes you have to be careful
Well, no,
about that aspect of it as well.
with me, what I do is when I feel myself wanting to say something to feed my own ego or to make somebody feel bad, to put that pressure, I stop myself, and I just feel that I just, for me, as someone that is extrasensory, I feel that person's pain, so I just walk away and I don't. And I felt that recently because I'm just like, you're, and then I'm like, let me just walk away because, like, number one, I'm making them feel bad about the situation, and that's not helping. It's where you're coming from. It's exactly that. You do have to come in a loving space. If you do come in that angry space, that ego for them is just going to come up and it's going to be really defensive, and they're not going to want to deal with you. And then there's going to be a fight, and you're like, no, I'm not doing that. I've learned not to do that anymore. What do you? Oh man, you're doing. Really...
It's easy though, man, because it's like you're still trapped in this fucking monkey body.
Yeah.
So you always fall into that animal shit all the time. I know I do, and I catch myself doing it, and I'm like, fucking dick, stop it. Yeah. Stop being a monkey. You're not a monkey. You're in control. But I'll go for an aggressive reaction.
For me now, I'm sorry, what were you saying?
Oh, no, you're alright.
No, for me now, what I've been doing is I've been feeling the multi-dimensionality of this whole entire experience. I'm feeling myself in multi-dimension. So what I'll do is, if I feel that anger, or if I feel even sleepy or anything, it could work for anything, what I'll do is I'll meditate for only a few minutes, not even that long, like 2 minutes, 5 minutes, and I will feel myself, my higher self, myself in different dimensions. I'll open up my chakra points, my hand chakras, my foot chakras, to ground me. And then I will feel that galactic energy, or that universal energy interconnectedness, and then I'll completely stop. And, I've been doing that more recently now than ever. Like, actually only within this month. Because it's a learning curve, you have to kind of figure things out and go at it alone. And I kind of don't like to watch too much people's material, only because then you can't go from the inner self or the inner perspective and know, because there's a difference between somebody that's reading and somebody that's knowing and experiencing. You can definitely tell through just the way they talk, and
I'm paraphrasing books like it's my own fucking epiphany. Man, I'm guilty of that shit. I do that all the fucking time. It's easy to do, though. It's easy to do.
It is. It's very easy. But you know what? I find it as reference points, because when you actually understand the concept, it's so much more different than just reading. And that's how because I do reference, like, you do need to take up information. You do need to take up knowledge, because then you can't really back up those experiences that you have, really, because if you don't have that knowledge, and I feel a lot of people either just have experience or just have knowledge, and unifying the two and, making it that really whole experience, using the left and the right brain, balancing the masculine and the feminine, just always being in that state of balance and perfection. That is something that's really hard, and we have to constantly be on. Yeah, for sure.
Definitely, because, well, I think this is something that I've kind of like come to terms with over probably the most part of this year, kind of. Yeah, say January fucking onwards and shit, because I've been looking into a lot of psychology in terms of trying to reintegrate my kind of psychedelic experiences and things, and looking into a lot of kind of Jungian interpretations of psychology, and a guy called Jordan Peterson, who's like books, a book called Maps of Meanings, again, kind of that's built on Jungian psychology, and all these archetypal explanations of how the psychological experience of being human functions. And I think that has helped me so much, helped me in the process of uniting the kind of left and right brains, if you will, because now I've got this kind of, this translating language for this kind of interhemispheric communication that I can kind of actually verbalise these experiences I've had in a way that I couldn't before. And I think that's something that I can't back this up with any research, but just through what I've learnt about psychology, and I've learnt about kind of neurophysiology and things over the past year, and combining that with my own experiences, I'm proper starting to think that DMT has something to do with interhemispheric communication and the regulation of it. Because basically, like, from my understanding, and my understanding could be completely fucking flawed, but from my understanding of it, your right side of your brain processes in kind of pre-linguistic archetypes, and your right brain. Sorry, did I just say I just said right brain twice?
Yeah, now left
brain. Right brain's pre-linguistic kind of archetypes, and your left brain's kind of like language and mathematical thought structures. You know what I mean? And so basically, the right side of your brain deals with everything that you've never dealt with before. Deals with all the unknown shit that you've not been able to actually condense into language, into kind of proper concepts. And your left brain's everything that you've already dealt with and have concepts for and can deal with quick and easily. So when you kind of take a psychedelic, it stops the kind of filtering mechanism between the two, and you just get bombarded with all the chaos that you've got no way of fucking understanding. You know what I mean? Because it's just that infinite fucking input all at once that you can't fucking decode. And that's why the experience is so kind of important, because it's like, oh shit, there's all this extra data that I can't fucking understand. It's infinitely bigger than I am, holy shit. And then you kind of, that resets, like you were saying before with like the meditation and things, that resets your perspective, and you stop trying from a perspective of, I understand what's going on so I can accurately move through this weird future path that I've designed for myself, and you start making decisions based on what are the experiences that I've had in the world, and what are the input and output reactions that have actually fucking worked in those scenarios. Like, when I'm nice to someone, are they nice to me? Yeah, they're nice to me. Cool, that's an input-output reaction that I've logged and experienced myself, so I can act in the world based upon that principle. But I can't make decisions based upon some weird shit that I've just pontificated on for a few fucking months that I've never implemented and don't have any actual data on. You know what I mean? And kind of then preach that to other people as something that fucking works, because I've not got a clue, have I? I'm just forming some kind of...
Figuring it out?
Yeah, you know what I mean? But I think like that's why the figuring it out publicly is cool, because you normalise the process of figuring it out, and that's
everybody's
what it's
figuring
about.
it out.
These are just tools to do that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But your shirt, that's my tattoo.
Oh.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have all the cool stuff, but yeah, it's the same concept.
Oh no, but right. Okay, so basically, what I was wondering, because like we're on about the importance of being able to kind of like actually implement what you've learned in your life and reap the positive rewards of that. And because of how kind of like I see your videos and things progressing, right, like, what are you doing in your everyday life to, because this is what it's about, right? It's like, it's about you, this. You know what I mean? It's like people care about you as an individual. That's why they come to watch you. And the more you let them into your life, the more people kind of like give a shit, you know what I mean, and want you to do well and start to gun for you and shit. And so like I've seen like progressively you're kind of revealing more and more about your circumstances and your life and kind of how you're growing and things like that. So I was wondering kind of like what's the things that you've done or that you've been doing that's given you the courage to do that kind of shit? Because I'm having a similar experience at the moment, but I'll get into that after I've pecked your head about it.
Knowing that the universe loves courage, knowing that this is a breakdown of the ego, knowing that this is a shameless process, and knowing that we're all human. So why are you judging me? You're probably doing the same thing. I don't care. Like, I've just dropped giving the shit attitude. Like, I just don't care anymore, because people are always going to judge you. They're always going to like think something of you, and it's better just being honest. Like you said, it's just better being honest, because if you are honest, you are dropping that act. Almost, you know, you're dropping that personality for a second, and you're like, I'm human, and this is my experience. Accept me for everything. You know?
No, that's cool. That's cool. Right. So what's your kind of like actual? Because I'm going to get fucking real now, man. Let's get real. What's your actual life looking like then? Because I know like you're living with your fella and his mum kind of thing.
Yeah.
And like how are you enjoying your kind of everyday existence?
It's good. It's harmonious for now. It's good. It was really bumpy getting there, and it's getting everybody on that level of deeper awareness. You know, like that's what I mean by like everything shifts. You know, once you have a shift, everything shifts. You become aware of your circumstances and how you got yourself in those circumstances and how you can get yourself out of those circumstances. And it happens so fast and so synchronistic. And it was pretty bad, you know, for a while, but it was just me saying, no, I don't want that. No, I don't want that. Just being really sure of the people you want in your life, you know, and the people that, like you said, get in your way less and don't have that competitive nature, and drop that bullshit, you know, and it's getting everybody on board. And sometimes it's difficult, you know, it's really, really difficult, but you, like I said, intent, aligning your intent with that, feeling that love and interconnectedness, saying there are no sides, there's only one, all is one, you know, don't be fearful.
How do you bring that into focus, into like intense situations? Sorry, I've started asking you lots of questions.
You hug. I know. Yeah, like,
no, I mean,
if someone... I'm sorry.
Sorry. How do you bring that into focus in like really intense situations? Because I'm really good at kind of losing my shit. But like, because you had the thing recently, like for people who don't know, like you put it out on one of your recent videos about coming back from India to being locked out of your flat kind of thing from just loads of bullshit. How did you not fucking lose your shit? I did. Like, kicking the door in and like,
well, because I would have been arrested, number one. I didn't want to go to jail. I didn't want to pay legal fees. Like, that's the first thing that, like, my friends are thinking, and my boyfriend was thinking. I'm like, no, let's do this the right way. I have to deal with the law, you know, and I don't want to make the situation worse for myself. So just let go. Think of this as an ego death. Think of this as the universe just teaching you a lesson, you know, of something deeper. And I think the thing is, like, I experienced something very similar in a hurricane like 3 or 4 years before that. So it was a lot easier to let go of shit, because once you lose all your shit, you can always drop your stuff, you know, like you could always be like, oh, well, you know, I'll just buy something else, or I'll start fresh, or I don't have that attachment to my things as a lot of people do, you know, and the things that I do feel attached to, I recognize, all right, the only thing I feel attached to is my equipment, you know, to produce stuff. Like, that's it. And the funny thing is, that's the only thing that they saved. And I said, that's it. That's all I need. You know, that's all I need. As long as I have my camera equipment, you know, my computer, all the things I need to edit and, like, do my producing, I'm fine. You know? And that's kind of the mindset we have to have. And when dealing with shit hit the fan experiences, because for me, Number one, I didn't take it completely in grace. Like, I cried and complained to my boyfriend the whole entire time. I don't show that side. But yeah, I was really difficult, like that was normal, like I was screaming and I was crying, and you have to let all that energy out, so or else it's still in you. And yeah, that's why, like, you have to process it first before you talk about it, to get that deeper understanding, and that centeredness, because I couldn't talk about this while it was happening. It was so difficult, and I think that's why people were really confused, and, they didn't know what was going on. So I almost felt like an obligation of being, truthful, because they are, like you said, interested. So I kind of forgot I was doing that as well. And I was like, oh, hey, guys, like, this is what's happening. By the way, after I've processed all this trauma, I can talk about it,
No, it's cool though, man.
Yeah.
It's good. It's nice seeing your progression through the world, because like I think that's it as well. Like, you could cope with that situation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You came back to being no fucking flat. Nearly all your stuff's fucking gone.
Mm-hmm.
And now you're in a situation where you're happier than when you had all your stuff in that flat.
Yeah.
And that initial situation must have been fucking terrifying.
Yeah.
But you dealt with it, and the end result's better than
the past
fucking initial result.
Yeah.
And it shows that every situation's dealable with, and it's dealable with in a way where you minimise your kind of energetic output to that situation. If you can just hold back and breathe for a moment in the face of anything that kind of pisses you off or shits you up or causes you stress, you can actually ponder the best way to react to that situation that is the kind of most positive way to reconfigure the chaos that's just erupted in front of you.
Yeah, and also I had, like, near-death experiences, so, like, it was like a buildup of a release of everything, and I realized that, like, that whole situation wasn't working for me, and it just made it so much easier. Just so much easier. And I was like, oh man, like, I really don't care that much. Like, even like when I was going to pick up my camera equipment, the only thing that really hurt me was my cat. That was the thing. I flipped out. Like, I called the cops on them, and the cops are like, you need to go to court and they'll give you the money that you paid for it. I'm like, it's not worth what I paid. This is a life. Like, how dare you? Are you like, I was crying. I was uncontrollable. I was, for days, for weeks. I was just, that was hard. That was real. I was having dreams as she was dying, and I couldn't save her. And it was just like, just going there. It was really sad, because, like, I knew that she was locked in there, and I couldn't go and save her because I would go to jail. And, like, that's the law. That's just how it works. And it's fucked up. And it's just like, those were the deeper understandings of how society is fucked. Culture is fucked. And we're just being traumatized and being fucked. Because we're not...
I've got a cat death video. What am I on about? A cat death kind of like experience that kind of like shows how it can still be grim and horrible with no fucking exterior causal happening. You know what I mean? Right?
Yeah.
Like,
let me kind of just.
I said that in a really, really wanky way. Let me kind of try and get it out in a way that's less word bollocks. Like, there's society and everything. Don't always cause the bullshit that they cause with purposeful intent.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Shit happens outside of that regardless. Mm-hmm. And my cat death experience was something horrific, which happened when I was living with like my ex-missus, like maybe about 3 or 4 years ago, something like that. But we woke up one morning and we couldn't find cat anywhere, and it always come in for its food, and we just, we couldn't find it. We loved this cat; it was a brilliant cat. And after like all morning, getting ready for work and that, and just freaking out a bit, going out calling for this cat, I walked back into the kitchen, and in the kitchen's our washing machine, washing machine,
Yeah.
For clothes. Oh, I don't know if Americans call them fucking different shit. You've always got
No, it's
different
a
words
washing
for different
machine.
shit. But anyway, so I glance over to the washing machine, and circular glass porthole window, and there's just this cat paw up against it on the inside, and my fucking heart sunk. And I realised we'd put the fucking cat through the wash. We killed the cat in the fucking washing machine. We must have left the fucking door open at some point.
That's so
and he
sad.
must have just crawled in and gone to sleep, and we just closed the door and fucking drowned while spinning round through our own fucking lack of looking. You know what I mean? So it's not all society. Sometimes it's just your own fucking stupidity that kills cats.
Oh.
But it's bad, isn't it? It's fucking horrific.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
oh God.
Yeah.
I think like if I was a cat, I'd rather go in a funny way like that than be run over by a car or something.
Yeah. No. I think it was really super traumatizing for me was being able to remote view and see her suffering. Like I was able to go through walls. Like I was outside of my apartment. Then all of a sudden I appeared right in front of my apartment door, and then I walked through the walls, or I pushed through, and then I saw her in like shit and like litter everywhere, and like her hair all matted, like when you are going through, I feel, change, you do become extrasensory, like to the max. Like I was remote viewing, I was, my devil video where I met the devil entity, like I met the devil, was when I lost everything or released everything, or let go. And I do feel like you gain, that's what it means. For me, it was trading higher states of awareness and consciousness and psychic abilities for material stuff. For me, at least. And like, hey, who doesn't want to be more intuitive and psychic? I don't know.
I think like I kind of don't. You know what I mean? That's why I smoke so much weed, is to kind of deal with what I find this extra amount of information coming in that doesn't help me focus on what I feel my energy is best focused on. Because
it depends, really, because I mean, I've learned to use that to focus my energy and to figure out what I'm doing. So now I get dreams, and like, I like to call them third eye visions or light DNA activation. But I get like, my guides talk to me through dreams, through meditation, through visions, and like I get my information or the things I have to do. So why I started doing music now, which is crazy and so outside of the box and like not in my comfort zone at all. I have to learn a whole bunch of new stuff and everything, but it's because of, and my guides told me it was my understanding of numbers in the future and my understanding of tones and frequencies in the future. That's going to allow me to produce music that will be beneficial. You know what I mean? Or like meditation tracks that will be beneficial for people, or just even tones, stuff like that. That's kind of like, I don't know why I've been guided to do that, but I see a lot of light workers are doing their own meditation tracks now, and like doing stuff by themselves. It's really just understanding that you are a creator. Like you can create
Yeah,
anything, you
yeah.
can learn anything and do it,
Will you do something for me though?
Yeah.
Right? When you're doing music and shit,
Yeah.
don't fall into that fucking 432 hertz bullshit trap.
Oh
Because
yeah,
that pisses me off.
tell me about this. Tell me about this.
Well, have you heard it? It's one of those things like new age meme things that floats around everywhere that people kind of constantly get caught out by, where people like basically. Right, just for people who don't know, it's like I'm a music producer. That's kind of what I do. So I know about music and I know about the science of sound. That's kind of my shit. So basically, there's this thing called concert pitch, which is called concert pitch because it's how all orchestras across the world have decided to standardise tuning, so we all know what an A and a C is, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So when you play an A, everyone plays the same A.
Yeah.
So basically, in orchestral, we all tune to an A, tuned to 440 hertz, which is 440 cycles per second, right? But there's a lot of this kind of bullshit meme going about where people say that was this idea that was brought in by the Nazis.
Wait, what?
And really that 440 hertz is out of phase with like your body and the planet and everything, and it's like actively fucking shit up, and all pop music's tuned to this and it fucks you up and all this shit, right? And 432 hertz is actually in tune with the planet and is all kind of, perfect and everything like that. And so then all these motherfuckers saying this shit, selling music tuned to 432 hertz, being like, all right, here's this shit and it's perfectly tuned for you, and like, better for you, I'll charge loads of fucking cash for this thing. And it's like that. But pitch is relative.
Yeah.
Pitch is fundamentally relative. The only reason that something is X cycles per second is because we as a species have denoted exactly what a fucking second is. You know what I mean? We've decided to measure a second by the decay of a cesium. I think it's like cesium-33 or something. So we're defining a second off that, and that doesn't correlate in any way to the resonance of the planet or anything like that. Yeah. So to say that the cycles per second, we're not taking in this extra kind of like integer, this extra factor in the equation that you need to take into account of, just it's kind of bullshit to sell a thing on. What's the cool thing, man? It's like the binaural shit is where it's at. Fuck all this kind of like bollocks. Like the binaural one's brilliant because it actually activates your brain and makes you do something.
That's what I'm going to be doing. Yeah, that's what I'm going to be doing.
That's brilliant, man, because you've actually got theta waves and stuff that we can measure in the brain.
That's what I'm going to be doing.
Say, like, you make binaural beats to put your brain into a theta state because you're actually actively reproducing something there. It's not this, I tuned to 432, man, my music's good for you. It's like,
I'm not doing any of those conversions. What I'm doing is I'm making tones to get into those alpha or theta states along with and I want to do just pure tone for one of them, so people could listen to lectures or they could read books and listen to just like a steady tone to activate that state. Or I want to do it with nature, no music. Like for me, I don't know. It's a very like, it's weird, but I completely get what you're saying. I have heard that argument by people that are in music, so I completely. Like, I totally get it, but the binaural beats for those alpha, theta states and, like, those different states, that's what I'm doing. Yeah, I've been shown.
Well, that's perfect, because I'll explain that. This is why it's important, right? Because people assume this kind of, like, higher geometric relationship based on a single kind of waveform. Well, what it is, everything that makes music and makes makes resonance really is to do with how different pitches interact, and that's what binaural beats do. You have two different notes effectively in each ear, and your brain will sum those notes together and create the experience of a third pitch in your mind. So your brain's actively doing this work to reproduce this certain cycles per second in your mind. But like, so it's kind of, and that's what makes the experience of music in itself such a kind of powerful thing, is because your brain's hearing the relationships of all these different frequencies and how they kind of dance and interact, and like that in itself is just like the distilled experience of life. You know what I mean? It's like, how does this note sound against this note? Does it sound like harmonious, or is it dissonant as fuck? And is it, because this is something that I've learned from music, right, and it applies to everything in life, and I think the same can be done with any craft that you do. You get into it deep enough, you learn shit that's just applicable across the board. But with music, I used to hear dissonant sounds that I thought, oh god, that sounds really, really kind of horrible. And I'm trying to think, is it like, right, so I don't know if you'll be able to hear this. This will be like, can you?
Yeah, I can hear it.
That sounds horrible, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like a
horrible.
Okay, I really don't know music. That's why I'm like, what?
No, well, that's cool, but basically, like that is like, well, it's a tritone, which is a really dissonant kind of like chord, right? And dissonance is perceived normally as kind of like out of tune and a bit like, that's horrible, yeah. But it's all to do with how you listen to it, because like some weird avant-garde jazz and stuff can have some bits that most people who haven't been exposed to that kind of music will listen to and be like, this is just weird, I don't get it, it sounds out of tune, I don't get the rhythms, it's all there, you know what I mean? But that's all down to how you listen to the music, because listening is like an active thing with music, and I think that's the same thing with your interaction with the world, because you can look at the world and go, oh, this is horrible, oh, this is dissonant, oh, this is nasty, or you can choose to interact with it, and in the process of engaging in it, you see the beauty in it.
Yeah, absolutely. Hold on 1 second.
Oh, okay. So am I going round in circles?
No, this is amazing. I'm kind of happy I went through all of that, so now when I do come to the UK, we're hanging out. We're all hanging out. I mean, like I find like my internet friends have become like my actual friends, you know? And like I'm not really embarrassed or ashamed about that, because this is freaking 2017. Like everything's the internet.
Definitely, you know? It's like I find the people who I get on with best, and I don't care where the fuck they live. And because I'm kind of like, I like being very, very busy, pardon me, doing my own work. So, kind of like, I see everyone who I genuinely give a shit about, I communicate with on kind of like this big bi-monthly rota, where I have my friends who actually live close to me. I have kind of like, you know, maybe 8 people who I make sure I see regularly, and then I have all my internet friends who are on that rota as well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And but mainly the time that I spend is sat practicing writing music, you know what I mean? Because that's the shit that I love doing. So I like regimenting my social time.
I find a lot of people that are creating, it's just like we're so busy, because like when you are becoming a creator, you're just like, I've got so much stuff to do, you know, and you're learning new things, and you're creating and learning and like putting action into place that you're just like, I have to delegate time efficiently. You know, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
Are we recording again?
Yeah, we're totally recording.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, I didn't mute it then when I were having my bongo. Make sure I mute it again. Now we're recording.
That's cool. Yeah, I like to do things really free flow. I feel like Reflections really, like, they like that realness, like, that, you know? That's really, like, that's how I've been just realizing that has to be. Because, like, we're getting away from that staged programming. You know, it just feels very artificial, you know, too rehearsed almost, you know? Like, I get that.
Well, I tried, like, I think when I first started, because anyone who kind of, because there's going to be people who watch this on your channel and think I'm some kind of competent individual who's got to some point where I'm kind of warranted being on your channel and speaking to you kind of thing. But it's just like, I think I happened to communicate with you very fucking early and you were just cool enough to speak to me.
No,
no, because this is the thing. It's like, I'm a sound bloke. I know I'm a nice guy, man.
Yeah.
And people who talk to me enjoy my company 9 times out of 10, so I can make friends with people. But I'm fucking lazy when it comes to content, so I don't want anyone here thinking that they're going to go to my channel and find some kind of, like, equivalent presentation of what I've achieved on this podcast. Because it's like, nah, man. My channel is an example of me producing just this wreck of whatever the fuck happened, and I kind of like to do it to psychologically vent my brain, because when I'm like, writing music for me is this psychological outpouring, and at some points in the production cycle of music I have a lot of time where I can't play as much as I'd normally play, so I end up wanting to be creative when I don't actually, well, I'm constrained in a way that I can't, so I'll vent into camera.
For me, at least, I connect with people that I find have a sense of realness, you know, and they have motivation. Like, if they are in that creator state, if they are producing, if they are, like you said, in that just then I will, because there are a lot of people that are lazy. They're making a lot of excuses, or they are incompetent, or they lack motivation, or they just... No. You do your music stuff. You put all your attention to your music stuff.
Yeah, but it's like, I'm lazy and incompetent as fuck, man. I'm just fighting.
I'm talking about you. No.
That's what it is. It's like just like a conscious effort to try and fight the shit bits of yourself I admire.
Yeah.
And that's why I kind of like you, because it's like you're actually assessing yourself and growing, and it's like, yeah, man, and I want to be around people like that.
I think you're doing that in your own way, and it could really tell just by this conversation. And I feel the people that I resonate with are people that just get it. You know what I mean? And like, that's why I kind of want to do, you know, more videos with you, because like, we do get to that core of, like, you know, figuring it out, you know, and that's something, like, I do think we have a vibe together. Whenever there's a good vibe, I'm like, oh man, that's why I remembered your professionalism when it came to dealing with me. Even though you might not see yourself that way, that's what I got. I know, right? What? I was like, wow, this guy's like really on time and on point, and like, but I realized, like, I'm lazy myself, because like, when you message me on Twitter, I'm like in bed, like, and I'm like, oh shit, I forgot, like scrambling to get everything done. So yeah, you know, like, it is catching yourself a lot, and like, I do not make excuses for myself anymore. And, you know, I can't. When you take your work seriously, when you take your mission seriously, when you feel like you're helping, if you feel like, you know, you're loved, if you feel like you have a space, you know, because everybody does. Everybody wants to be accepted. Everybody wants to be loved. If we say we don't, we're lying to ourselves, you know. Then you don't have that, and like, that's what pushed me. I was like, you know what? I started this for a reason. I lost focus for a little bit. You know, we all lose focus for a little bit, but we got to realign ourselves. to the greater cause, the bigger picture, the bigger picture of I'm here to, number one, figure out my own shit. Number two, make myself, comfortable, happy, be good to myself. Number three, connect and help and be an assistance and to love. So, as long as you know that, you're good. And I don't mean like everybody says, well, Sumi, do I have to do what you do? No. You can be an artist, you can be a cook, you could be anything, but do what you love. Because if you're not doing what you love, it's slavery. And that's what I just got out of, this whole entire experience. That's why I respect people that do what they love. Even if you have a job right now that you have and you're just struggling and you do 6 videos in like 6 months, I don't care. You're still trying. You're still doing. And I respect that because a lot of people won't even take that first step. It's hard. It's hard. It is.
It's funny, Mum. Like, because I can't claim any kind of, I don't know, any responsibility really for like putting out this shit I've put out, because none of it, well, like I don't think I could have chose not to. You know what I mean? It's kind of just like, right, I get my head goes to places and I get compelled to do shit, and I've just got to kind of do it whether I like or not, just to get it out of my system. You know what I mean?
But why choose YouTube? It's such a public platform. People could do blogs. Like, it takes courage. That's what I'm saying. It takes some type of courage.
It makes it kind of permanent.
Yeah.
And it makes it so you've got an answer to your bullshit. Because right, okay, I'll tell you what it is, right? And I don't mean to get too deep. I won't get too deep unless you purposely peck my head on it. But right, like, I have terrible relationship with my family and stuff, and I've not spoke to the majority of them all for, like, shit, man, like, maybe 8 years, I don't know, something like that. Fucking long ass time. But as a result of this, like, there's a lot of my history, if you will, and my experience of life that is in this weird state of ambiguity that can't be what's the word? Can't be confirmed by another individual. And I don't trust my memories because my imaginal space is very, very kind of hyperactive, and I'm very good at just adding imagined things into my memories, so I can't trust the accuracy of my memories unless I can kind of confirm it with another person.
Yeah.
Right? So, in a way, the YouTube shit is a fail-safe, because I know I'm so kind of transient and hermetic and temperamental and kind of nomadic that at any point I could lose the individuals that provide me with some kind of historical anchoring.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
That's exactly.
And
listen,
that mitigates against it. I've got a record of the individual that I was that I can't escape from, because that's important.
And I think that is the most important process of understanding the self. I don't know if you know a galactic historian. He does like these YouTube videos. He says the same thing, to record everything, because that's how you go through everything, and it's so funny. We're all getting these ideas at the same time. He teaches classes on that. I'm like, yeah, I'm doing, I realize that you're recording your history. You're really recording your history, and it is, I mean, you could delete videos, whatever. Like I only delete ones where, I only deleted one actually, and that was something that, it was because I was very emotional at that point, and it was like a death. And I almost felt like it was sensationalizing it. So I'm like, you know what? Let me just take that off, because I don't want to do that to someone. That was the only time that I had a deeper sense of awareness. Maybe 6 months later, I'm like, let me take that off, But everything else, yeah, I put, and it's quite terrifying. It's there for everyone to see. But I almost feel like I do it, like deep down inside. Also, I don't have that relationship with my mother or father. With my family, I'm the exact same way. I am very transient. I'm the same person as you, pretty much. So it's almost like my fuck you. I'm healed. I'm good, and I'm helping. And I'm whole. And this is me now, and I have survived everything.
Right, that's just brought us with it in a weird way as well. Although I don't know, I probably should admit this to myself in a way, but even though I'm saying this, I don't feel like I'm willing to admit this to myself on any deep psychological level, but it's probably true.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that it's doing my videos is probably a way to vicariously communicate with the family members that I've kind of purposefully shut out of my life.
Yes.
Because they wouldn't be able to accept the things that I'm doing. Well, not that they wouldn't be able to accept them. I'm not going to put that on them. I don't want to kind of like force them into a place and speak for them or anything. But it's a damn sight fucking easier for me to not have to consider them when making decisions, which really is selfish, you know what I mean? But that, at the very least, I know that a lack of contact... Right, okay, let me sum it up this way. I think the best thing that you can aim for as a person is to try and just minimise unnecessary suffering. Yes. And that's not my fucking thing. People have said that for fucking centuries and millennia, and loads of different folks say it, and I agree with it entirely. And I know that I'm causing suffering in a way, not being in contact and not being capable of the forgiveness to those kind of people. Yeah. But I know at the very least them having that little window into my world mediates against that total suffering that I inflict upon them. At least of a little bit, you know what I mean? It gives them a level of contact that I'm happy with. You know what I mean?
It almost like I came to that conclusion when I think it was on a news story or an article where her family found her by watching her YouTube videos, and I'm like, oh my God. Or maybe it was like a CSI episode. I don't know. It was one of those. But I put it together, and I'm like, this is my way of talking to, the family, the friends that I left behind, everybody that hurt me. I almost feel like I'm coming in a loving space for them to learn if they want to, even though I've left them behind in my actual life, I'm still here for you, in that way. And I think that is my way of dealing with, just being like, I'm out, like, I can't deal with this, because, I do feel that, in a way. And it did take me a while to understand that, because, like, when you don't you are like a hermit. I was the same way, for years I was alone, in my own world, in that apartment for 3 years, just doing my own thing, and
well, you're throwing yourself into this experience of archetypal chaos and ego death, so you're completely eliminating all this kind of, all the code and the map of the world that the kind of like left side of your brain's made that you use to interact with everything. And you're having to kind of then rebuild it for next fucking half a decade or however long it is. But what that lets you do, it lets you kind of update things. You can build like a better map. Like, that's the Peterson fucking thing. You can just kind of upgrade your understanding of the world. And kind of, in fact, that's something that you're on about in your last podcast, videocast thing, where it was about imprinting.
Yeah.
And this is something that, like, Timothy Leary said a lot about imprinting. And again, like, the analogy with the ducks and the basketball thing's a good thing. I'll just use that one because it was used on the last one, because, you know, folk will be familiar with it, where when baby ducks are born, they imprint upon the first thing that they see. So if you imprinted them on a basketball, for instance, then they'd think that was their mother. Yeah, and that's unchangeable after that point. And imprinting happens in humans throughout your kind of childhood development, and humans imprint in such a complex number of ways, and this imprinting can cause kind of like sexual kinks and habits and positive things and negative things and so many weird, but you know, there's no way to attach to weigh these things. You can't just say that all the things that you've imprinted are negative or all of them are positive. You have to find a way to actually
I find
measure the value of them.
I find that a lot of them were...
What's that? Your face looked well funny then. Sorry.
I find that like a lot of the stuff was really negative that was imprinted. Like my beginning story, like the circumstances in which I was born, it was very abusive. You know, it was very like and my parents were hyper unaware, like so dead asleep. And as a child, I remember having that awareness and saying, fuck, I shouldn't copy them. You know, I shouldn't. And then eventually I did. And I had to break everything because in that DMT space, I recognized my mother within myself, my father within myself. And that terrified me. That's
the thing. The psychedelic experience will allow you to re-imprint. That's what it does. It'll reset those points of your brain, and it's nigh on impossible to reset some of those things without that. And that's why it can be cool if you like want to quit drinking or smoking or whatever, because you're washing away that bit of programming, and for a brief window you can re-imprint a positive behavioural pattern. But if you don't take advantage of that small window, you're fucked. And you've got to do more drugs.
Wow. This conversation is getting awesome.
It looks so funny from my fucking side, that, because your face is on the screen. I can, like, reach up and touch your face.
Oh, yeah, you're pretty big on the screen, too. Oh, yeah, the settings are kind of weird. I mean, whatever. But, yeah, no, I do find that I am, like, when my first time with DMT, I felt the neuroplasticity in my brain rewiring. It was just rewiring, you know, and like creating new paths. And I felt it. Like I felt, and every single time I have a major shift, I feel different parts of my brain activating, you know, and that's really interesting. It is all neuroscience, you know. It is all just different chemicals being released, different, you know, electrical impulses in the brain firing. Yeah. And we are changing the brain almost because...
you trip your experience of everyday life. What you're experiencing right now is a very specific balance of neurophysiology and neurochemistry working together that gives you your hallucination of life. You know what I mean? And you can modulate that however you want. You can modulate it with drugs, you can modulate it with exercise, you can modulate it with food, you can modulate it by fucking, you can modulate it any way you want. And the thing is, it's like, what are the best, what brain states, right? Because it's not just about what brain states do you enjoy the most.
Yeah.
Because that's total hedonism.
Yep.
And that's not healthy.
Yep.
It's about what brain states have the most positive impact. What brain states have the most positive impact on you as an individual, the people you love, and the wider society that you're inside of. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like that shit's
and
important.
It is. It
again, I'm like, complete disclosure, man, I'm just firing Jordan Petersonisms out, man, because I've been on hyping that guy for fucking time there, and he's a genius.
Yeah.
So, I'm preaching the message.
Yeah, no, it's become life has become very psychedelic. Like, that's what I mean. Like, you get to a level of awareness where you're feeling the multidimensionality of this whole entire experience. And that's what I mean by feeling you in every single dimension, into infinity, like that's...
Well, there's infinite dimensions of experience,
Yeah.
all the plethora of emotional and psychological states that you can occupy. And dependent on that mediates how you perceive the environment you occupy.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so the only way that you can figure out what the environment you occupy actually is by experiencing as many different variations of state as you possibly can. And then you can start to kind of like triangulate in on what's objectively real and how... Well, then you can make the best fucking decisions. And that's why it always confuses me when people kind of like just brush off psychedelics as, oh, you're just getting high, you're just getting fucked out your face, you're just doing something, you know what I mean? Yeah. It's like, no, you just don't understand it. You've had some kind of weird cultural fear put into you about drugs. Yeah. What I'm doing is exploring how modulating my consciousness and my experience of self affects how I perceive the world, and giving myself more angles of observation on this object to begin to understand what the fuck it actually is. Yeah. Because the more I know about the lens I'm looking through, the more I can kind of mediate against how it warps what I'm seeing.
Yep, exactly. And I do feel that new state of understanding or awareness, or that really does change, because the thing about everything is it's free will. It's how you choose to act, which dictates your experience. Like, that's what I've been realizing. Before, I was very angry, like just always reacting, and of course it was giving me trouble, because I couldn't step back and say, realign myself and ground myself and feel myself in infinite dimensions and be like, all right, I cannot react anymore. Like, I could just do that. I could just choose to walk away, versus making it a lot harder for myself, and...
Can I ask you something? Yeah. I don't know, you may not, so no pressure either way, but I constantly kind of have things that I'm trying to improve, you know what I mean? And, well, I know you do, but I have a value system to it, so there's always one that I can kind of cite as the main one that I'm focusing on at the moment. And I was going to say, like, what's the main thing at the moment that you're kind of honing in on to kind of like do the work on, if you will?
Everything. It just feels like I have so much work to do still. It just feels like everything. I feel like my emotional self, I've been through so much shit, and I've learned so much and processed so much that right now I just need to chill with that. But it's more like having that, like, just focus. Focus. That's the thing that I also have a problem with. I tell everybody I'm going to upload 3 days a week, and sometimes I just do one. Sometimes I just do once a month, and it is having that focus that I just have to, start being more rigid with that and more conscious of how I use my time, like, that's for me. I have to do that.
Man, I think like discipline is the perfect
exactly
fucking thing, because that's the thing I've been working on. I want to share this thing with you. I found it the other day. It's like it's an app, right? Yeah. It's called Life RPG. Right? Sorry to plug on your channel. I have no affiliation with this thing. I literally just found it on the fucking App Store. But, like, basically, it's like, if you've ever played like RPG video games, you do battles and shit, and you fucking get experience and you level up and stuff. And this is like a weird kind of like personal organizer thing where you can like gamify your life. So like, I've got my shit here. Like, it's my fucking character and that, and this is all shit I have to do in the fucking day, and it's like got this like no smoking tobacco and shit, and fucking like doing all my shit and that, and I tick it off and I level up, and I'm level 70 fucking 7, and I'm bossing life, and
what?
It's sick.
That I have to download that.
I've ended up using shit like that because I got really into kind of like graphing my productivity because I figured like I was saying before about trying to have the most objective understanding of how you're acting in the world, then you can kind of make the best decisions.
Yeah.
So I came up with this. Well, I read this book called The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield, and it's fucking brilliant. But basically, it presents the pursuit of art, right, as a war between the individual kind of in reverence to the muse and the distraction of resistance, right? Yeah. So everything that you do that doesn't feed into your creative endeavour is you giving in to the demon of resistance.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And everything that you do to advance that process is you in reverence to the muse, right? And it was a beautiful thing. So basically, I came up with these conditions where I said to myself, right, I have to do a minimum of like 3 hours a day, work on my fucking music and shit to beat resistance. Yes. So I started kind of making a note of how I was doing every week. I did it for 6 weeks initially. Where I kind of just did that 3.5 hours a day kind of thing and had certain tasks I was trying to fold into it. And then at the end of the 6 weeks period, it was like, day 1, how do I beat resistance? Day 2, how do I beat resistance? And I had kind of diaried what I was doing on each day and things. So I could start to pull out the kind of habitual patterns that I was doing. And it was like, on what do I do? What regularly occurs when I fuck up and I have days that I'm kind of defeated by resistance and don't actually do the shit that I'm intending to? Are there any patterns that I've done on each of those days where it could be like, oh, I've got too stoned, or I've done this or whatever? And the things that I found out was it's not like weed isn't a factor. Weed doesn't actually affect the variability of me personally in terms of my productivity. Smoking tobacco does, however. That's something I've noticed. It's weird because I always have this internal thing where I tell myself, oh, tobacco focuses me. But no, in actual fact, tobacco makes me more lethargic and more tired and less productive. So if I'm smoking tobacco, I'll do less in a day. You know what I mean? It seems that the most important things above all else, if I want to say become better at singing, or I want to become better at writing music or anything in my fucking life, there's like 3 things that if I do, everything else gets better of its fucking own accord. And it seems to be if I eat 3 fucking meals a day that's healthy food, and I'm talking actually look into nutrition and figure out what's the best nutritional kind of thing you need for your body and frame and how fucking quick your metabolism runs and shit, and make sure you're getting that, make sure you're getting enough sleep, and make sure you meditate and exercise. Because it's like if you're doing them and like it puts that is the balance in the brain chemistry thing. Doing those things puts me in this headspace where I don't want to kill myself. I don't want to fucking sit on settee and watch fucking like, you know, shit on TV all day. I don't want to fucking just like lie in bed and wank. I want to fucking do something with my life. I want to like make music and I want to fucking like, you know, live and be part of it all. And it's weird how I think I don't know if other people do this. I think they do. That's why I'm saying this. But the point is, I always think that the tasks that I want to get done are the things that I need desperately to try and get done. And I overlook all else in my life, where it's like I'm writing a song, I need to get this song fucking finished, or whatever it is you're doing that you need to get finished. You focus on that, and it's like, fuck it, I'm not going to eat, I'm not going to sleep, I'm not going to do fucking, I'm going to get this done. And then you end up fucked, and you end up paying for it, and the thing you're doing suffers. But if you just focus on that, force the discipline to look after yourself. And it's like, because we always say, it's like, treat everyone else with love, you know what I mean? And everyone says, oh, love yourself, but you never kind of look after yourself in the way that you'd look after someone you really fucking loved. Yeah. It's like you genuinely do have to treat yourself like the person you care about fucking most. Yes. Or you put yourself in the situation where you're actually exacerbating your own fucking stress and suffering. It's weird, man. And you've got to take yourself into account as part of the mean value of planetary suffering. Yes. You can't just solve it for everyone else.
Yes, I do believe that and that's the synchronicity of resting and being kind to yourself again. I find that something.
Sorry, am I going round in loops? I'm just
no. You're very much.
Are you sure?
You are seeing the pattern recognition, and I feel that a lot of this whole thing is that's why we are recording, to identify the patterns of behavior, you know, because without that, like, that takes a deeper sense of awareness, I feel, to do that, because even I haven't thought to do that, you know. I'm like, oh wow, Skanky Mojo is schooling me, huh? I didn't even think. That's brilliant. Really, I'm going to start implementing that in my life, and just like recording my day and my productivity, because I tend to be that person that will not eat, will not sleep, you know, and I do see my productivity, just like, for me at least, like, I know I could do more. You know, I've been wanting to write a book, I've been wanting to do music, I've been wanting to do videos, I've been wanting to do documentaries, and I'm like, I've got so much stuff to do, and I'm not taking care of myself. I realize that, you know, and like, that's why I take the signs when people are, you know, like, giving me that information, and I'm like, that's something that I feel like I also have to work really hard on, is taking care of myself more, and that focus and discipline. But I find we all have that problem. A lot of us, not all, but a lot of us.
That's what meditation's about for me.
Yeah.
Because like I find, like, I do the proper, like, you know, like mala beads. You know what I mean? And I'll do mantric meditation, but I have a really kind of like, well, I have an approach to it. There's a personal component of it that's transcendental and very spiritual, from my personal experience of it. But shit, that's not what's fucking important, right? It's like, really what I'm doing in the act of meditation is like, I'll sit in full lotus position, right? Because full lotus position is uncomfortable as fuck. It's uncomfortable as fuck. Right, and you've just got, and it's fucking, your back hurts really quickly. It's not like you sit there for half an hour and then your back starts to hurt. Your back starts to hurt after about a fucking half a minute. And same with your legs, and your feet have gone numb by the end of it. But you're going through these mala beads, right? And the reason you use mala beads is because I think there's like 101 of them or something on a thing. Yeah. And it means you don't have to mentally count, because if you're counting numbers, it's a little kind of pull thing. It's a trigger that makes your brain go, oh, I've still got loads to do, and shit like that. You start thinking about other shit. But basically, so you're using these beads to count, because there's a big stopper bead at the end. So, you know, once you've got all the way around, you reach that stopper bead, and that's your meditation time. Yeah. So if you do a normal kind of mantra, you're looking at roughly about kind of like half an hour, 40 minutes, something like that, for a full rotation of that. So the point is, I'm focusing on a mantra, which is I'm saying the same audible thing over and over again, and concentrating on all the nuances of that sound to the point where I don't hear it having any meaning anymore. I'm not listening to the word. The point is, you don't hear the word and its meaning. You hear the sound coming out of your mouth. That's how much you're focused on it. And I'm training, focusing on a thing deeply while giving myself as many bodily reasons to be fucking distracted as possible.
Yeah. Because
then in the fray of the world, I can maintain my focus and my awareness on the things that I need to actualize the kind of the beauty that I want to actualize. So it's like I'm going to make myself uncomfortable because that's distracting and I don't want to do it. Yeah. I'm going to say the same thing over and over again on a loop for fucking like 40 minutes because it's boring and they don't sound like words anymore and it doesn't even mean anything to me now. And I'm going to just, every time I get distracted and start thinking about something actually interesting, I'm going to be like, no, I'm listening to this fucking stupid mantra and I've started slouching, so I need to sit back up straight again so it hurts more. And it's like, make myself as uncomfortable as fucking possible and as bored as possible, because if I can carry on doing a thing that I intend to do when I'm uncomfortable as fuck and I'm bored and I don't want to do it, then I know I have the mental power to do the shit that I really want to do in the face of any other fucking distraction. And that's what meditation's for. It's for training your mental power to actually actively act in the world and focus on the things you need to focus on to make your life how you want it to be, instead of getting caught up in all the fucking bullshit that's around you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. For me, I meditate completely differently, but I can understand
that's not how it has to be.
I can totally understand that as a self-discipline.
I have a spiritual side to it, but I wasn't trying to fire that out there. But I kind of I do kind of what you do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I proper go for the kind of Hindu vibe of thing. You know what I mean? Like. But anyway, you kind of carry on. I didn't interrupt.
No, it's okay. But I admire that, because for me, I've never really. I can do but not in lotus position, but with a very straight back. For me, at least, DMT has allowed me to go into that meditative state without mantra. You know what I mean? So just go real quick, real in, and I could stay there for hours. But my thing is, I can stay there for too long. You know, it could become a distraction. It could become this safe space that I just don't want to get out of. You know what I mean?
I think that's the thing. I have a similar experience. I can so easily kind of fall into that, but that's not what I'm using meditation for. I don't use meditation to try and reach that transcendental space, because when I'm listening to the mantra, I'm listening to it acoustically. I'm trying to listen to how my voice sounds in the room. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to do it to anchor my mind in the kind of experience of now, because I always lose myself in abstraction and in the mind and in the space beyond, and I've got to proper pull my fucking consciousness back into my fucking head and pack it in so I can be in the room to do shit like podcasts and
that's another thing I want to do. Podcasts. Oh my God. There's so many things I want to create. And it's just I do have to take the time to be kind to myself, not push. When you are feeling this awakened state of, I just want to create, we have to be chill. We have to love ourselves. We have to be kind to ourselves. And we have to take care of ourselves. And we forget sometimes. You know, I can easily fall into that trap. And, I'm pretty sure a lot of people listening to this want to become more creative and want to, really live in their, live in that state. So yeah, they might be able to get something. I really want to try that. Going through my day and just recording my productivity. Can I
ask you a thing? What? Because we're quickly moving off the topic, and you didn't explain yours, and I was genuinely interested, because you mentioned it slightly earlier about doing the kind of like the chakra style meditation, right? And I've tried that. I like doing that, and I really enjoy the visualizations and stuff like that. But I wondered, what does meditation look like for you? How do you approach it?
My meditation, I just lie flat. I'm in like a sleep state. I'm in a lucid state. A lot of visions, a lot of geometries. I'm in that half wake, half sleep state. You know what I mean? And it's just feeling the energy, the multidimensionality of everything. Harnessing that vortex energy, that infinite energy. Sometimes I find like if I've only slept 3 hours, and like yesterday, I had to run to meet, my partner. We were going to go out. We stayed up till like 5 in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning. I only had 3 hours of sleep. But while I was on the train, going and like doing that, I was just right in that moment of time. I was so tired. I felt like I was going to pass out. I just sat there very still and just like Terrence McKenna says, look at the back of your eyes. I do that. I look at and I really look, and my brain turns off and I'm feeling myself in just infinite dimensions and I'm harnessing that energy almost like I'm taking that energy from everything and I'm putting it back within me, and then after a few minutes, I'm like, wow, I feel like I had a nap, like that was really interesting. And I felt my palm chakras open. I felt my head crown chakra open. I felt my third eye pulsing. I felt my heart chakra open. I felt you also have on the soles of your feet. You have a chakra over there. I felt that open, and it was just this like energy from top all the way to the bottom to like my fingertips everywhere, just circulating, and just like feeling that energy. That's where it goes. And then I harness all of it back inside of my heart, and then I just feel this electricity, and I'm like, wow, I feel like I just had like a power nap, or and I could just do this. That's where it goes. That's on like a quick way of doing it. Like, let's say if you haven't slept, if you feel mentally tired, frustrated, in that weird schism, that's what I do because I felt mentally drained at that point, and I'm like, I don't want to crash. Oh my God, I had 3 synchronicities telling me I'm gonna burn. Let me do something because I have to figure it out. Like you're figuring it out at that moment, and you're like, oh, this works. All right, so I'll do this. That's where I go, and that's just been my way of doing it. It's very rebel. It's very different. But yeah, that's really been like getting that life force energy back from from nature intelligence, from the matrix, because everything is energy. Everything, even this, is energy. And if we could take that energy back, imagine what we could do.
No, it's cool because it's like I used to do this daily kind of like a morning chakra meditation thing, and it's
I
cool.
I don't even visualize what happens. I feel them open. I feel a tingle.
Well,
yeah, exactly. Right?
That's the thing. Yeah. Like I think like they do work. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's difficult to explain because, like, I don't think they work in the what's the way. I don't think they work in the kind of typical New Age explanation of how they work, but I think they're actual things that actually works. And I don't mean like the placebo effect, and you're just imagining this thing so it has a positive benefit on you. I don't actually mean that. I think there are actual nodal points in your neurology and your physiology that when because you can modulate where the awareness in your body is. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like if I say, think about your hands and feel what your hands are feeling, suddenly you're like a good kind of like maybe 70% of your entire perception has become your hands. You're suddenly just like,
that's the thing. For me, it happens when I'm not even thinking and it just starts happening and I become aware of it. And I'm like, oh, what is that? Like, what?
That's the thing, man, because I think the thing that separates psychedelic people from not psychedelic people, and again, this is the same thing as mystical people and schizophrenic people.
Yes.
It's all the same shit, because it comes back to that very cool quote. I can't remember who the hell said it, but it's like the mystic swims in the same sea that the psychotic drowns. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's like, oh, for fuck's sake, I'm really stoned and I've lost the thing there. Really
but that was beautiful.
Come back, motherfucker. Right, what? Right. Re-trigger me. What was the last few things that I said?
No, we were talking about the
Help
psychedelic state, the chakras, swimming in the sea of psychosis. The mystics.
Wind up. Okay, so we're on chakras, chakra meditation.
Yeah, opening up all the chakras.
Yeah, I know. Well, we're going to get to this. We'll get to it, Samina. Come on. Oh, brain work.
Brain fart. That happens when you're getting some really intense information. I know how it feels.
I've had like fucking too many bongs, and my short-term memory has now been paused for a while. I will get it though. We'll get there. Yeah. So we're on about that. Right, here we go. Right, so this is the thing about the kind of people who are in that sea, if you will, and the kind of people who are on the beach, right? The kind of people who are on the beach don't realise that you're not, you're like you, the experience of the self-you isn't the only kind of you in your body.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Because it's like there are these things that exist outside of you. You know what I mean? Because it's like, what's right? There's all people feel love. You know what I mean? Unless you, well, some people don't apparently, but the majority of people feel love. You feel like hate, you feel like anger, aggression, all the emotions, all the different kind of, like, all these psychological states transcend individuals. I can have shared a similar psychological experience that you have. You know what I mean? And like in ancient times, it's like there was the fucking god of war and the god of anger. Because it can manifest in all fucking people.
Exactly.
And it's like these things actually have some kind of existence, whether you want to see it as a psychological existence, whether you want to see it as a psychological existence, whether you want to see it as gods or, you know what I mean, as spirits or whatever, because the labels don't have any fucking relevance. The fact is there's this phenomena that exists, and I don't want to step on anyone's toes by kind of being like it's this or this or this or this, but the point is there's you and there's all this shit that most people who aren't thinking think still them, and it's not fucking them. Whether it's a biological protocol that's evolved over fucking millennia to keep you fucking alive, or whether it's a god fucking trying to control your brain, or whether it's a spirit, or whether it's whatever the fuck you think it is, doesn't matter. What matters is the input or output result. And the result is that you can be overcome by something that isn't a kind of a free will choice. And it's a thing that exists inside of you, and if you're not aware of it, it'll run your body for you.
Yeah, that's the predetermined factor of things, and also free will. You know, it's the deterministic factor and the free will working together and understanding both of them at the same time. Exactly, because that's natural law. You know, that's just how things work. And if you are not aware of it, then it will rule you. Absolutely. Yeah, that's, damn, getting deep. Getting deep. That's awesome. Oh, man, I do definitely want to do this again with you. Because, like, that's how you know, like, you're a psychedelic person. Like, not everybody is, you know, willing to get real deep and real with them. It does take a certain amount of loss and suffering and ego death and all of that dark and heavy stuff a lot of people just don't want to deal with because it's too tough.
Oh, man, I think you get to a point where you actually start to realise you are all just the same person. You're all having the same fucking
Same
psychological
thing.
experience,
Yeah.
and we all think that we're so fucking unique. And it's
We're
like,
not.
no, we're all the same fucking person, right? So it's like, that's why it don't take courage. That's why I feel courage to me is the wrong thing to say that it takes. It takes really not giving a fuck, which isn't courageous. It's just kind of like disregarding something because it's so fucking obvious it doesn't matter. And if you think it matters, you're just getting caught up in your own bullshit. Not because it's like something to be afraid of. It's kind of because you're like enjoying playing this game that you're playing, which is, you know what I mean? I can't condemn that. It's just as valid as any other way to experience the world. If you want to live that way, fair enough.
Yeah.
But like, well, it's weird. It's like, what do you want to do? Because there's positives and negatives to each. It's like, do you want to be the character in the game and experience that life, or do you want to know you're playing a game and enjoy playing the game? And both are kind of like equally valid in my eyes.
Yeah.
That's why I kind of like, I don't know, I used to proper kind of be in a headspace of wanting to really get everyone on the psychedelic hype, kind of, you know, like psychedelic revolution kind of thing.
So I'm still kind of, I think it's happening. I think it's a slow process. I think it started in the '60s, and you know, that energy or that breakdown. And I think it's just getting started. This is why we're here.
Well,
We're here to learn, you know, we're here to evolve, we're here to experience and to understand everything.
Yeah, but I don't think this is ever going to kind of change, if that makes any sense.
For some people, it's not everybody's time.
No, not like that. Like, let me just kind of like flesh this out a little bit. Like, I think that humanity will always have the artistic psychedelic bleeding edge, but there will always be, pardon me, a conservative counterpoint to that, because I think it's the interaction between those both sides that make humanity a consistent thing. Because what we do as the psychedelic people, we constantly interface with the unknown craziness of the world and all these bizarre archetypal forms and things, and find a way to express that. We put it into art, we put it into poetry, we put it into music, we put it into whatever, and then we feed this to society, and that's how we're integrating this information for them. You know what I mean? It's like we're the part of the species organism that takes in the unknown, integrates it. We're the left brain of the fucking planet, you know what I mean? And we still need right brain neurons, who are the kind of conservative people, to keep all the systems in place running that we need running, because us kind of psychedelic artistic types, we're shit at running businesses and hospitals and stuff. It's like we can chat shit online and make beautiful art and write good tunes and do everything like this and inspire them.
Yeah, but don't you think
we still need them?
I mean, of course, but I don't. I think that it's balancing the two. Like, that's my next focus. That's my next focus, is me integrating, and that's why I've seen the star tetrahedrons everywhere. I'm realizing that I'm becoming into myself. I'm understanding I have to not only be artistic, but be technical, have that balance, that unification of understanding.
I've had a brilliant fucking way of summing this up, right? Okay, you know, right? This to me is the role of a psychedelic individual, right? You know, at night you have dreams, and what your dreams do, it's that left-right interface of you kind of like right brain explaining to your left brain all the shit that it's had to deal with in the day, so you can kind of actually understand that in linguistic sense. And that's what the process of the artist does. It's explaining that to the kind of like the left brain of humanity. So it's like psychedelic people, yeah, it's your role, right, to be the best fucking person you can be, because you have to be like the dream of humanity. You know what I mean? You have to be the thing that people look to and go, fuck me, that's how you need to be in the world. That's how you need to live. So that motherfucker's the happiest, kindest, fucking nicest, best person I've ever met. I'm going to be like them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, that's the influence you need to be in the world. It's like, be cool.
Yeah,
Don't be
cool.
a dick.
Don't be a
cool.
dick. Be cool. Be humble, and create love and balance. Love and balance, and show that you can be that creator. You can be that fun person. You can be that psychedelic person. You can be that scientific person. You can be everything. You can be well-rounded. You know?
Exactly.
And I feel that is the next phase of understanding as a collective. Yeah, because I don't see it just within myself. I see it within, the people that subscribe to me. I see the evolution. I see the change. I see on my Snapchat, we're all reading the same things. We're all coming to the same conclusions. We're all understanding that action needs to be required for any type of change. And that is a balance of the creativity, of the technical, of the logical, of the emotional, of everything in order to create any type of change. We have to be the change. And that affects, humanity. And that has that fractal effect. Like that's why I start to become like really into the work that I'm doing and really just taking it seriously. That's when you really take it seriously and you're humbled by the whole entire experience. You're like...
And you can use your experience of kind of internal chaos as a way to understand and empathise with the chaos in the world as well, because it's like it's very easy to look at things like war and famine and stuff and fall into nihilism and kind of think that it's all meaningless and horrific.
Yeah.
But it's like a fractal of psychological development. If you can look at the world itself as kind of like imagine it as like a teenager at the teenage stage of life. You know what I mean? Because this is where I feel like we are. And
that's what I just said. I'm the teenager. I feel it, the rebellious teenager. Yes.
But it's like this with the world, you know what I mean? Because when you're in that kind of teenage thing, it's like this battle between all the childhood naivety and the nostalgia that you have and this kind of image of the grown-up completed you that you have. And both of them aren't really real. They're just these kind of, a vague, not 100% correct history and a hope of the future, you know what I mean? And these two things are constantly kind of like vying for supremacy, and it's like the unification of the two that creates a kind of rounded individual. And it's like the same things happening globally at the moment, you know what I mean? It's like we've got this hardcore kind of like materialist kind of capitalist society, and then we've got kind of like really weird, hardcore kind of like fucking dogmatic religious kind of sects, and then we've got kind of like weird like communist sects and stuff, and it's everything's all pulling in different directions, and it's like you've got these communities, these cultures that are longing for this nostalgic kind of experience of child where God the Father looks after them and they get to be the looked after child again. And then you've got this group of people who are desperately trying to say, no, I'm in control, I'm a grown up, we know what's going on. And it's like, no, we need these two polar opposites in culture to come together, but we can't see the conflict of the two as a negative thing. We can't be like, oh no, we live in a fucking horrendous time, everything's going to shit, because it's like, no, would you look at a teenager and be like, that's a fucking terrible thing? It's like, no, it's a kid figuring out how the fuck they operate, and we're doing the same thing as the planet. You have to give us as a species that same recognition.
Exactly, and it's also like recognizing that pattern of behavior and changing it. Like recognizing the inhumanity within humanity and calling attention to it, and doing something about it, and expanding awareness on it. Yeah, I totally agree. We can't really just ignore things. We have to take everything into account, because if we ignore, then we deny other people's truths.
Yeah,
and that's not psychedelic.
I think that there are. It's weird though. Well, it's not weird. It's just not black and fucking white. You know what I mean? Because there are things that are negative that need to be fucking dealt with. Because again, it's like one cancer cell can spread and kill an entire kind of person. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Yeah. And one ideology can spread and destroy an entire fucking species. You know what I mean? It's like Nazism is an issue and isn't something that we can all be kind of flamboyant about and shit. There's certain things, it's like there are things that you need chemo for or you'll die as a society, if you will. It's like it's weird because I don't in any way want to condone aggression, but I can't condone total pacifism either.
And that's the balance. It's really difficult
to get my head around.
I know, I feel that's the balance and understanding. That's like that slave mentality where you're just like, yeah, no, I'm not gonna put attention on that. No, yeah, even though it's hurting me, no. And that's something we need to be aware of. That negative programming that came from somewhere else, or it's like that child that you don't say no. And it just spirals out of control. Exactly. And it's us checking humanity, I feel.
How do you approach situations where you need to be kind of aggressive? You know what I mean? Because there are situations where you need to be aggressive, but you can be aggressive without being a bad person.
No,
so
what I do, kind of I just come from truth, and I stand my ground. And I give a loving energy to them, and I say, you are loved. Okay, you are loved. We love you. You don't have to act like this. There are no sides, because you do get very combative people, or people like I had roommates that were like crazy Nazi like white boys. And I had a situation where like they were trying to they liked me, this one that was like hardcore would like come downstairs and bother me, and I'd be like, what are you doing here? This is my part of the house. What's going on? And he would just start a fight. And I was at first coming from get the fuck out of here mentality. But I caught him off guard and I hugged him. And I said, is this what you want? Is this what you want? Love? You are loved. You don't have to, act like a crazy person to get love. We're going to have to live with each other. So we might as well be respectful with one another. Because adults are respectful, no matter what their views are. And he just melted. And all of that melted. That was a serious situation where I'm like, oh my God, how am I going to deal with this? How am I going to deal with this? He hates women. He hates, anybody of color. I am a woman of color. This guy's going to kill me. I felt at that point. But they were all sexually attracted to me, even though they hated women and they hated people of color. So it's just okay. How do we deal with this situation? We have to come from a higher state of perspective, not feeling offended at that point. Because once we feel offended, we are losing focus. Once we are hating, we are losing focus. People are broken and traumatized and hurting, and they don't understand why they are doing what they are doing. And they are hurting other people because they're hurting. And until we recognize that and we stop blaming these people and start loving these people, change will never be created, And that's what I mean. I've been doing a lot of research on feminism and rape culture and all of this stuff. And there was this woman doing her thesis on rape studies, and how she went to India because she was Indian, and she was doing interviews with over 200 rapists, and she said, I never thought I'd feel bad for them. But there came a point where I realized that culture was programming them. There was a lack of understanding. There was a lack of knowledge. There was a lack of information that they could access. A lot of these people in India, they were. She said they dropped out of school at 3rd grade. They didn't understand consent. One of them had raped a 5-year-old child, and then he said once he was confronted with the fact that she would never be able to get married, he said in order to, he started crying, and he said, when I get out of prison, I will marry her, thinking that that was the way to solve it. So there is some type of compassion there, but not understanding why they are doing. And if we keep on jailing them and not giving them the type of support system or programs they need to rehabilitate that, and I mean everybody, whether it's drugs, whether it's, sex offenders, whether it's depression, everything, all of these dark collective things that people suffer because it is part of humanity. It is, we are all suffering. Unless we heal that and love that together, there will be, that constant fractal effect of abuse.
Fucking perfect, man. Exactly. Yeah. I couldn't have said it better myself.
Mm-hmm. Wow, yeah, that's what I mean by not being in that duality and saying that's wrong, that's bad, judging people. No, we're all hurting and we're all trying to solve our problems, like, together. And some of us are better at it because we've done a little bit more, self work, and that's why, like, I like Aaron's idea of being the steward of higher states of consciousness and higher states of understanding the self, so we can, like we are those anchors here in the world for change, and never forget your power, for that change. And that's when you become, like, real serious real quick. Oh man, that was good. And it's 222 right now. What? And I saw 333. Yeah, wow, that got deep real quick.
Man, that was fucking brilliantly put. Seriously, I'm in awe.
Yeah. I mean, that's what's going on here. That's the bigger picture. That's getting out of that victim mentality. Because when we're in that victim mentality, when we think that people are and they can't be healed, they can't be whole, that's how we're treating people. You're bad. You're a victim. No, we're figuring it out. And I find, like, the more people that do these works, like, I'm so happy that, like, psychologists are realizing this. People are realizing that we need to rehabilitate people, and love people, because that's the only way that we're going to stop those things. Because if we teach our men, to get more in touch with their feminine side, to embrace and to understand that they are both masculine and feminine, then there would be no stigmas, and there would be no, what I mean? There would be no needing to, like, grab and take and, be ultra masculine and hurt people, because that is a part of that. And also being super feminine, there's a trap for that too. There's always traps, like we say, So,
can I throw something out to you, just because I'd like to hear your perspective on it? Because it's something that I've thought for a while, but it seems like quite a taboo thing, right?
Yeah.
Well, it's obviously a taboo thing, but I think kind of like pedophilia, right, needs to not be fucking taboo, right? It needs to be something that is so. I'm not saying it needs to be accepted that there's like, it doesn't need to be acceptable behaviour. Is the
kind
thing.
Of like,
it needs to
Nazism.
Be acceptable that there are people who, for whatever reason, end up having these urges, and if it wasn't such a hardcore taboo, then imagine if this was the standard course of events. Imagine, instead of someone having a compulsion to molest a child and molesting a child, they had a compulsion to molest a child, right? was aware of the fact that that was the wrong thing to do, but concerned enough objectively about their own psychology, that they express this to a friend and say, look, I've had these feelings towards kids, I'm worried about myself, and the mate goes, alright, don't worry, you know what I mean, it's a normal thing, it fucking happens to some people, let's get you to the doctors, get you therapy, we'll put precautions in place and make sure nothing ever happens.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I do feel exactly. I do feel that there is too much judgment because I mean I am a sexual abuse survivor, and I look at that and I recognize the fractal effect of things because my abuser was abused. My abuser was abused by a teacher, and I only found that out later. And I recognized that that could be a cycle, you know, and that's what's happening within humanity. It's kind of like generational abuse, and it's just cycles of abuse. And we do need to have more understanding about that. And yeah, it's a really difficult subject, but there needs, just like that woman that goes into rape, and she was you know, interviewing molesters, she was interviewing rapists, you know, and she was like, we need to get them help, number one, and stop the judgment because they need help. Yes.
It's the judgment thing, isn't it? Like, judgment's the perfect word for it, man. Because like I don't get. Well, I shouldn't say I don't get, because I do. I can understand why people don't have that level of empathy. But what I feel everyone needs to realise is, like, anything that you see anyone else doing ever, you are capable of. Yeah. You could have been that motherfucker. You know what I mean? You could have ended up with the whatever psychology that made you think that doing that was a fucking good idea.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
For me, at least, it was very hard. Like, I was the caretaker, so, like, my sister and I, like, we could not give our little sister a bath. I was just like, I can't. I'm sorry. I'm too traumatized. Like, I can't do this. Like, that was always in the back of my head because I knew he was abused. And I'd feel that way, and that's terrified me. But I recognized that, like, no, Samina, you're working towards understanding it, understanding the cycle. That you are so far, like, you're so aware of it that this will never become you because you are aware of it. You know, I feel that's the older programs or the older generations have that lack of understanding. And maybe a person that is, you know, younger now and they have those urges and they're like, no, let me understand myself first. You know, let me get that help. Let me get that support system. And maybe you can understand it to a point where you will never inflict that pain on someone. Absolutely. I do think that there needs to be a lot of rehabilitation for all people that act out because they're just acting out on what they've seen, you know, and it's a humanities problem. It's not just them. It's a collective problem that we are not addressing.
Yeah,
you know, yeah. Because if so many people are suffering, that's a problem within culture and humanity that we have to address and we have to shift and change. Absolutely. Yeah, because whatever we're doing is not working because it's still happening and it's happening at a worse effect. You know, and it's cross-cultural. That's what I mean. It's east, it's west, it's everywhere. You know, and the fact that all of these cultural programs that are, you know, a crossover, you know, we have to recognize those patterns. You know, it's pattern recognition, like you say. And I feel like, yeah, we're getting somewhere, man. Yeah.
Well, can I ask, just for kind of interest, like, how is it dealing with the kind of day-to-day cultural milieu of America now? Because from like, looking at you guys from over here, everything's looking pretty fucking wacky right now. And like with all this career shit and whatnot, it's just like, what the fuck is going on? Is it going to be like World War III or some shit?
I try to just surround my, like, I'm so into my work, you know, and there's other people that got to deal with that, but it seems like I'm living in a dream. Like it's
Yeah,
all so surreal, you know. Um, I find that our there needs to be some type of revolution because this is not working.
yeah,
These
yeah,
systems are not working. These people in power are egomaniacs and they're operating from very base consciousness, and we have to elect or we have to work together, or maybe there should be no rulers, but there has to be a new structure because whatever we're doing is not working. Again, cross culturally, all of us collectively, we're all going through bombings and crazy things, and there needs to be an attention or a shift, you know, because I find religions do that. You know, I find cultures do that. You know, I find individualism and thinking that I am, you know, the only one does that. I find that only working from the ego and doing for the self, and that's how we operate because we are in a fear state, does that. And it's changing our perspective, you know, and just changing systems. It's going to have to get heavy, I think. That's my personal perspective. I don't think that change comes easily, as we know, you know, through that psychedelic state. It does come with like seeing into the eye of the storm. You know, it's going to be tough. I don't know what the future is. My higher self only gives me like a week in advance what I got to do, or my missions that I got to do, really. But I think it could get ugly. But I'm hoping for the best. You know, that's all we could do, and to just make people aware that change needs to happen on an individual and collective, and we have to create that change through action. You know, if we're
yeah.
all too afraid, nothing will get done. If we're all too afraid of being judged or being hurt, you know, like that's why I always say, I'm not here, I don't care. You know, I've got a job to do. We all have a job to do. We all have a job to do. You know, and taking that like real seriously has been like that turning point for me, and like that's why I feel like we all got to motivate, we all have to keep on top, we all have to challenge the self, you know, and not fall for those traps that we can, you know, yeah, using that left and that right brain, you know, balancing the mind, the body, the spirit. It's a balancing act, you know, and it's change and it's rough.
Do you know what I reckon would be cool? Is
What?
like it's something that we could work towards as like a psychedelic community. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying this because I want to do it, because I proper do not fucking want to do this in any fucking way. But I'm saying that, like, there's got to be
Yeah.
some individual out of the others, if you will, some psychedelic individual somewhere. You know what I mean? Maybe like fucking, but he'd be busy, but like Rick Doblin from Maps, you know, someone who's like conscientious as fuck, but still a psychedelic individual,
Yeah.
who is in a position of respect where they could run for fucking president or something.
Right? Wouldn't
You know
that be
what I mean?
amazing?
It's like, because that's the thing. When you kind of get psychedelic, you look at a job like that and you go,
Oh
fuck
no.
that.
Yep.
Fuck
Yep.
that.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
But surely it'd be better if one of us were doing that
Yes.
than someone like fucking Trump.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's like, well, God, come on, there's got to be one of us who
and
isn't
that's
just
what I-
stoned all the time and could actually do it.
Yeah, no, that's what I feel. I feel that that's why creating content is so important, because maybe there might just be that future person that might become psychedelic and also be in politics. You know what I mean? Like that's a possibility, man. That's a possibility. I really think that that's why we need to step into our power, you know, and we need to start creating that change because nobody's going to do it, you know. And I think in the future generations there's going to be like, I can tell there might be, you know, because we're becoming self-aware, and these paradigms are falling, the illusions are falling. We're having such a, I can't watch TV for that reason. It just seems so fake. And like
It,
the connections feel fake and everything's just so staged. And I'm just like seeing past all of that. It becomes boring, you know?
it's, it's weird, man. This might be kind of like a bit, uh, maybe a bit kind of like negative, but I feel like just in terms of how culture's going to progress, and it's the same in England kind of thing. If we were electing a prime minister, like I feel that we will see kind of like obviously you've had black president, right? I reckon you'll see like female president, openly homosexual president, and like an openly trans president.
Yeah.
Before you see an openly psychedelic president. I think those things will all be totally culturally accepted before being openly psychedelic is for some reason. I think what it is you've got to be prepared to. Well, you've got to kind of want that ego death.
Yeah.
You've kind of got to be the kind of person who initially doesn't want to be you anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people are very scared of that.
Yeah, well, a lot of people like their circumstances. Like, a lot of people actually said, wow, like, you were in that position a lot of girls want to be in, like, taken care of. It's completely opposite to walk away from that situation. But I recognized my culture programmed me, and I recognized that I was just a slave. That wasn't my highest karma. That wasn't my, like, I could do so much more. I didn't have to be in this situation, and it's really hard for a lot of people to step back and say, you know what, I don't like this, and I was stuck within that, but it took a psychedelic experience for me to just step back and say, wait a minute, it's a deeper level understanding of like energy, and then you're like, oh, it's so much easier to walk away because you recognize how low vibrational that is. You know what I mean? So it's just, that's why, like, yeah, it's just a deeper sense of awareness not many people have, because like I feel like people, that would be the opposite thing of what, someone in this culture would aspire. They'd be like, what? And I'm just like, no, it's for a reason. You just know something. A lot of people, and notice how culturally, like, people say like, oh, he's going crazy. No, he just knows something. To say someone's crazy it's just dismissive. It's a lack of understanding and awareness.
The thing is, though, it's healthy to think it about yourself.
Yeah.
It's like if you look at someone else and make a judgment like, oh, they're just going nuts.
Yeah.
Then it's like, no.
Yeah.
But if you ever think something and you're sure of it, then you should think, am I going nuts?
Exactly. Exactly. No,
it's like things that work externally don't work internally a lot of the times. But, vice versa, it kind of
No,
does.
I totally, like, yeah, some of my friends are like, what? And I'm like, hey, listen, I just know. I know what's going on. I saw it. I saw it as a prison for my consciousness. That's what I saw it as. Pre-programming, that's what I saw it as. Cultural programming through society, through TV, through movies, through, the people around me, through nature, programming me to be that person. And it was breaking outside of that programming, and I was like, I can't go back. Because like that's being that drone, like not really thinking of what you're doing when you're doing it, not being fully present, not having a full sense of awareness and understanding and wisdom. People don't have that. And like that's what I feel like, that's why we have these ego deaths, and that's like That's why I say, like, it's if you understand something from that experience, that's far more valuable than all the money in the world, man.
Yeah, yeah.
Far more valuable. And like that's what I mean. Like with you, I can understand that you understand this. You know, just by you can understand experience. You know, you could feel
Yeah,
people's
man.
experience. Yeah.
I think that's the thing, though. It's like you can see the people who don't just. It's like it's one thing claiming understanding, and it's another thing experimenting with something that you think could be right and finding that it works.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think like you go through a process and you do that very well. Because I think like you have to be willing to admit mistakes, but present ideas. I think this is the thing. I think this is why like you do it incredibly well with voicing everything that you believe with conviction, because you do, and you speak from the heart and you speak truth, and that takes fucking balls, because I think people kind of, it's easy to be concerned by how you're going to be judged when you present something, and it's almost impossible to ever be 100% certain about an idea, because you can always find a way to undermine it. But if you always find a way to undermine it, then you never say anything and you never make an impact on the world. So you've got to have the balls to do that, but you've also got to have the balls to, like we were saying before, be truthful and be honest with the kind of expression of it. And I love the fact that you're doing this style and getting on the video things, so you can kind of like, because you can pull people in now, and it's like
get information.
Yeah, man, it's fucking cool.
That's
you know
that's
what
I feel like. That's why I started getting people on, is because I realize everybody has a gift, everybody has perspective, and we can just create a bigger picture understanding of things. Because just me, I can't do it alone. A lot of people think that they could do it alone, and that's not, And that was my state of consciousness. Not even just a week ago, because sometimes you do lose focus, and sometimes you are very alone, very hermit-like, you do feel like, but that's when it's important to connect.
Hey Reflections, if you like this video, please like, subscribe, and check out my other videos.